The American Civil War, four of the bloodiest years in American history. When we think of the Civil War, most people think of places like Gettysburg, Shiloh, Chickamauga. What they don't realize is there were over 107 engagements fought in what is now Oklahoma, then known as the Indian Territories. I think that there may be another, or at least one, in Lincoln County that may not be documented. Those familiar with Oklahoma are probably familiar with the terms like Cabin Creek, Middle Boggy, and even Round Mountain. But most of those happen in the eastern part of the state. What about Lincoln County, located in the central part of the state? Were there any Civil War battles, skirmishes, or engagements fought in this area? A relic found in northern Lincoln County in 1933 by my grandfather, Amos Chase, may be the key to a skirmish that may have been fought on his property. We'll begin our investigation at the Lincoln County Museum of Pioneer History, located in Chandler, Oklahoma. In a second-floor exhibit is the musket found by my grandfather, Amos Chase, in the 1930s on his farm in northwest Lincoln County. The first thing that one notices about the weapon is its length, just 26 inches overall. Next, one sees the words Harpers Ferry 1833 on the lock plate and the faint remains of an ordnance eagle above a U.S. What may not be readily evident is the fact that the unusually short barrel still retains its end fixture, complete with a blade sight, indicating that the gun's length is by design, or at least a competent alteration, and not the result of damage or decay, or crude modification. The gun appears to have begun life as a model 1816 69 caliber flintlock smoothbore, and the date on the lock indicates when it was converted to a percussion-fired musket at the Harpers Ferry Arsenal using the cone-in conversion method. But why would a weapon as inherently inaccurate as a smoothbore musket be purposely altered to become even less accurate by shortening the barrel? What possible purpose could this weapon have served? The Civil War marked a time in armed conflict where technological advances were outpacing tactics. Bayonet charges no longer carried the day in the face of rifled mini balls, and cavalry saber gave way to the revolver. In the Confederacy, where state-of-the-art weapons were hard to come by, adaptations became necessary. One of the things that we have kind of come to the conclusion on is that this, because of the length of the barrel, because of the caliber being 69 caliber, which measures out to in between a 16 gauge shotgun measures 0.66 of an inch. 12 gauge shotgun measures out to 0.73 of an inch. So this, if it's a 69 caliber, it's a 0.69, so it's just right in between that. So this barrel could very easily and conceivably been used as a shotgun. With its sawed-off nature, this lends itself to being thought that this particular gun was being used as a sawed-off shotgun. The swivel sling that's on it could easily be held around a mounted troop's shoulder with a loop sling, just one loop, which one point of attachment to the gun itself, so that once it's been used or before it was used, it could easily be just slung around the shoulder. Interesting thing that we also want to pick up is we measured the inside of the bore, and it's empty. There's nothing in it. And the hammer is in the fully fired position. So this gun, whenever it was dropped, had been fired. It's not in the partial cock position, which would be in as if it was reloaded or going to be reloaded. So that leads us to believe that it had been fired.
Obviously, we're investigating this shotgun, what we believe to be is a shotgun, and we found some very interesting stuff about shotguns and the use even in the Civil War. We learned from an article that I found and shared to Mike that shotguns were commonly used in cavalry units, and that it was used also mostly by Indian troops. Something else that's interesting is in the thesis that Mike showed, it talked a lot about Brigadier General Douglas Cooper's regiment and the background behind it. And it was made up mostly of several different tribes, the Choctaws, the Creeks, the Chickasaws, some Cherokees, so on and so forth. We learned in this book, The Second Battle of Cabin Creek, that Douglas also mentions the obvious, which is that Texas regiments were better armed and they're better mounted than Indian troops. Many of these troops were armed with multiple guns, rifles, shotguns, so on and so forth. But the most compelling thing about this book is the inventory was recorded of the small arms in Douglas's regiment in 1863. And what we found in this is quite compelling, that shotguns were the most commonly used rifle, or most commonly used gun for that regiment, and it's by a significant amount. Just adding all the numbers up together, 39% of the soldiers would have a shotgun. Now, if you take Texans out of that, percentage-wise, that might actually increase. We don't know for certain, but we can only assume.
So how did this unique weapon make its way from Harpers Ferry, Virginia, over 1,100 miles to the Indian Territory? Was it used as a weapon of war? Was it a personal defense item? How did it get here, and what did it do once it got here? We'll continue to explore these possibilities and these mysteries in the next episode of the Civil War in Lincoln County.